Our leaders called on President Botha to remove violence, to free all those who have been imprisoned, and to allow the return of all those who have been driven into exile. To unban the People's Organization, the African National Congress, to dismantle apartheid, to allow free political activity so that the people may decide who will govern. We call upon the world to accept these demands.
Nazamo Winifred Medikazela, known as Winnie, was born September 26, 1936, in Bazana, a rural village in eastern Cape. She wasn't exposed to racism until she left to attend college at the University of South Africa in Johannesburg. South Africa was put through a harsh caste system in which white Africans had more freedom than the black Africans. She then started going to public speeches held by Nelson Mandela. Nelson wanted to change the caste system and make it better for South Africa. When they met, they shared common grounds. After a few years, she married Nelson Mandela, June 14, 1958.
In Johannesburg, everybody was talking about this man. In the evenings, when the factory workers came from work, they would sing freedom songs, and invariably, all these freedom songs were about Mandela.
The African National Congress became banned, which made Nelson Mandela political activities illegal. Winnie's father announced that Winnie would not be marrying Nelson, that she would be marrying the struggle. Nelson also stated that the struggle is life. Even before marriage, Winnie had the choice to abandon Nelson because of the political trial she would have to face, but she chose to stay with him.
It is the reality of our struggle for freedom, and it is only a continuation of the physical participation and the physical suffering of any freedom fighter.
Are you going to keep right on struggling?
The struggle goes on. There has never been any doubt about that.
In 1964, Nelson Mandela was sent to jail for illegal political rioting. It was a hard fight for freedom. She lost her husband for 27 years because he was fighting for the cause. After Nelson got sent to jail, she took up his role and continued the battle for freedom. According to Dr. Osborne, Winnie played a huge role in keeping Nelson's name prominent. Even though it was an enormous task for some people to take the leadership role, she did not hesitate to get the job done. She began making speeches to the black community to let them know that they should continue the fight. She knew all of the struggles her husband been through. She would have to go through them as well. Winnie worked harder to fight for freedom. She continued to do political activities. The government arrested her under the Suppression of Terrorism Act.
A bucket of water to wake me up. It didn't matter that I was soaking wet. I got up, I was so refreshed, and I started fighting all over again. They can rather take my life, I don't care. But I will fight to the last drop of my blood.
Winnie spent more than a year in solitary confinement where she was tortured. In order for the government to calm down the people, they had to force Winnie to tell her people to stop fighting. They tortured her with the purpose of weakening her, but Winnie still stood her ground. She never gave up. With no more ideas to get Winnie to do what they want, the government tried to bribe her with the opportunity to see her husband again. Despite all the temptation, she still didn't give in. Eventually, they decided to let her go.
I have a brave and determined mommy who loves her people with all her heart. She gave up pleasure and comfort in return for a life full of hardship and misery.
After 16 months, she was able to see her kids again. The joy in her heart when she finally saw her kids was amazing. But she knew the fight wasn't over. She continued to preach to her people and lead the nation for her cause. The more she made herself known, the more she was marked down by the government. In 1976, a massive uprising happened, known as the Soweto Uprising. Hundreds of black students were injured, and 58 were killed for protesting against the Africans Medium Decree of 1974. Students were gunned down by police. Nelson thought about the problem was more and more ruled by the gun. 1 year later, without any charge or warning, the government forced Winnie to move 2,050 miles from her home to Brantford, South Africa, where it is located away from the center of politics. The government wanted her in a place where she wouldn't be known and where she couldn't be a threat. They sent her away where she could not receive visitors or leave the community. The government hoped to detach her completely from any political activity. Their goal in having her isolated is for her to be forgotten. Instead of Winnie giving up, she built up the spirit of the neighborhood. Despite the government's warning to the people in Brantford that she was a dangerous person, she was able to help the area by giving the children a daycare, feeding the hungry, building a mobile clinic, and a kitchen. She won the Brantford community's respect.
Winnie het degrees gemaakt. Als ons werk, ons kan nu onze kinderen de degrees gaan lossen. Maar daar tijd, Winnie was nog niet hier, omdat ze degrees gehad.
Winnie was that person to look up to. Everyone had the respect for Winnie and felt protected because of her. She gave people hope and strength to fight. If it wasn't for Winnie, Nelson's name would have been forgotten, and there would be still political problems in South Africa. Her work changed the lives of others. She put her life at risk to command equality for the South African community. Winnie Mandela is known as the mother of the nation.
She grew to be a very politically dynamic and very, very strong personality. When she spoke, everyone was so quiet just to listen because here was this young, very lovely woman standing up and making her speeches, but she spoke, from her heart, which really made it just wonderful to listen to. She gave inspiration to everybody. Even now, if I have just a telephone call from Winnie, it's something that just gives me so much inspiration that I just want to get out and get that struggle moving, to get back home again. That's the kind of person she is.
She continues her legacy with the movie Winnie Mandela, starring Jennifer Hudson and Terrence Howard. She also is talked a lot in the book Mandela. She is the president of the African National Congress of the Women's League. She is known for helping South Africa become equal for everyone.
One God, one aim, one destiny. Show some love for humanity. Badang, badang, bang, bang. Balu, balu, baleng. Balu, balu, baleng. Balu, 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 baleng. Stand up and fight for you a warrior. Can't make Babylon cross your barrier, not a ria. Stand up and...
Here as testimony to the effect that the solution to this country's problem lies in these black hands. This is our country. In the same way, you have had to bury our loved ones, our children today.
It was such utter torture that I could feel that my mind was so tortured with lack of doing something and not communicating with anyone. That we are virtually in prison, even in our country. Those who are outside prison walls are simply in a bigger prison because the black man is virtually a prisoner, and all those other fellow whites and other groups that are as oppressed as we are all really in prison, in a bigger apartheid prison.